What's up, people? In this video we're going to take a look at this person you may recognize, Mariah Vitoria. Somebody asked me to take a look at her videos because apparently she fasted for 50 days. I seem to remember this girl, she did the snake diet or something like that. She was like all about the snake diet, and just from a quick glance through her YouTube channel, if we scroll down here, she's got like a lot of videos about fasting and like all this stuff about fasting, snake diet, stuff like that. I can relate, Maria, whatever. But anyway, I've never been the same since fasting 54 days. I watched about the first 10 seconds of this video, and it's basically, she says like fasting ruined my life and it's very bad and negative, and now I'm going to tell you why. Haven't seen the rest of it, although I'm kind of looking forward to it, not going to lie. It seems pretty juicy. So yeah, we're going to jump into that right now. If you guys have any other recommendations for YouTubers or videos that you want me to analyze, break down, leave me a comment, let me know. I'm trying to do more videos like this. I know you probably enjoyed watching me walk around my Japanese neighborhood for a while, but now we're in Bangkok, baby. I have my own room and I can do slightly more interesting things, or less interesting. I don't know, maybe you like that other stuff. Anyway, let's jump right in and watch this video.
What's up, everyone? Mariah here, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the 6 ways that fasting ruined my life, effed up my life, however you want to say it. And I think this video is really important because there's not enough videos out there about it. And at times it can be very difficult to describe the way fasting has played a negative role in my life. I'm not going to lie, there are positives when it comes to fasting, but as time goes on, and I'm approaching 7 months post-fast, and I still feel like I'm in the healing process of fasting. I didn't expect it to be this long. I didn't expect to be still making videos about it, honestly. I would have anticipated that I would have been done making videos about my 54-day long fast, but I'm still feeling the effects of it, the positives and negatives. It honestly feels mostly more like negatives, and so today I'm gonna be sharing those 6 things with you. If this is your first time here, at the end of September 2018, I embarked on a 54-day long fast. It was originally going to be 30 days. It turned into 54. Here I am with you today, giving you the dark side, the things that most people won't talk about because people have an agenda when it comes to fasting. I'm not really sure why, but they do. And I'm here to say that I think fasting can be good, but there are cons, and if you fast too long, there's even more cons. So beware. Like I mentioned, I never thought that I'd still be talking about the 54-day long fast, but here I am. I first want to say that I take full responsibility for fasting that long. No one told me to fast that long. I went out on YouTube, I watched multiple videos, I decided that I wanted to embark on a fasting journey. I went as long as I did because of me. No one pushed me there. Cole Robinson did not push me to go 54 days. I chose it myself. I didn't even get into contact with him until 40 days. I don't blame anyone or anything for the decisions that I've made. Are there people out there that I truly believe are not giving people the full picture of fasting and only the pros? 100%, and I'm not cool with that, and that's why I'm here making this video today. I also wanted to mention that I don't want others to feel the pain that I've experienced. I don't want anyone to experience that, and that's why I am speaking my truth today and talking about these specific cons when it comes to fasting. I feel qualified to talk about the...
All right, so girl loves to talk, which is good. And so far, I think she hasn't said anything that I particularly have a problem with. I would say the only thing is that anytime anybody wants to talk about health, in my opinion, this is just my own personal opinion, right? But anytime anybody wants to give advice on health and fitness and what you should do versus what you shouldn't do, there are a couple requirements that I think should be met before you consider taking that person's advice seriously. Number one, is this person exercising on a regular basis, preferably with, not just like bodybuilding? That's number one. Are they exercising? If they are, okay, they passed the first test. You can continue to take them seriously. This girl, I don't know anything about her, but it doesn't look like she exercises, or if she does, I don't know, does she like walk around the block or like do the elliptical a couple times a week maybe? That's not really like, it's not athletic training. And the reason athletic training is important is because the only way that you will kind of know you'll get a really true test of whether or not your diet is affecting you positive or negatively, is if you are applying a very hard test in the form of athletic training, right? You can notice some things like, oh, I feel worse when I'm sitting in my office job because I ate a big pizza today or whatever. But you're going to feel a lot worse if you try to run a couple miles off that pizza as opposed to if you ate healthy food. Just a random example. Okay, that's number one. Number two, in the beginning of the video, she says fasting messed up my life. I mean, she did say that she fasted for 54 days. And that's generally a little too much, right? Like, I don't know how you fast for 54 days and don't lose any weight. Anyway, the second thing is, are you eating healthy natural foods? Now, nobody gets to be this weight by eating healthy natural foods, right? It's not possible to be so overweight from eating fruits, vegetables, meat, and nuts and stuff like that. So are you binge eating? Yes. Then, are you binge eating and not exercising? How seriously can we really take your advice? The third one, kind of a nitpicky thing, but are you natural, right? Are you on steroids? If you're on steroids, like, okay, a lot of the results, are they from steroids or are they not? Not really applicable here, so let's move on.
Dark side, because I've actually experienced it. I'm not gonna lie, I did hear a lot about the dark side of fasting, but it was from people that never fasted before. And it was really difficult to take their words seriously or with any merit because of the simple fact that they had never experienced it for themselves. Well, now you could read from people that have not done it, and here you are today getting this information from someone who has actually fasted themselves. At the end of the day, I just want to say with fasting that people need to tread lightly. I did not tread lightly. I did OMAD for a month. I did a 48-hour fast, and then I believe a 78-hour fast, and then I jumped right into 54 days. I think it's highly, highly important to tread lightly when it comes to fasting. And I think slowing it down is the best way to go, even though I know for me specifically, that'd be really hard to take because I'm either all in or all out. I can't do something in moderation, clearly. So, the first way that fasting ruined my life. I don't really like to, first of all, use the word ruined, mainly because the fact that when I hear the word ruined, I think that it's not repairable. I feel like I am repairable. The negative things that happen to me, they are repairable. When I say effed up, I feel like that, like I said, ruined. It's not repairable, but when I say effed up, I'm like, it is repairable. So that's why I don't necessarily like to use the word ruined, but honestly, I think that people were intrigued by that word, and that's why I started to use it.
That's fair.
So the first way that fasting effed up my life is there was a lot of days, and I'm happy to say that I'm pretty much past this, that I was just feeling really challenged, and I thought to myself, this is really challenging. I feel like I'm in a hole. I don't know how to crawl out of this hole, and it would be really, really easy to escape this situation. And the only way I was to get out of this situation would be, hey, it would be so nice if I just didn't wake up in the morning. And that's so sad and
all right. Well, okay, let's
such a dark
see what else
place
she
to be
says.
in, but that was how dark it got. I would say, honestly, it got to that point. I'm glad to say that I'm out of it. I'm glad to say that I woke up. But that thought crossed my mind way too many times. Not that I was going to put any action behind it, but just a thought wow, this is exhausting mentally, physically exhausting. It'd be nice to just not wake up in the morning. The second way.
All right. So anybody who doesn't eat for 54 days, I mean, show me one person who's not going to think about killing themselves after that long, obviously. This video, she did mention this earlier in the video that nobody told her to fast for so long. She did obviously take it a little too far. But this is saying, I don't know. Okay, so there's a drug that I, have taken before that I recommend people take if they're capable of taking it in moderation. It's called Phenibut. Okay, now the thing with phenibut, people normally take about 1 gram or 2 grams. And if you take it for several consecutive days and then you stop cold turkey, you will experience some withdrawal effects. Okay, so what this leads people to say is that phenibut is bad and that you have terrible withdrawals and it's a horrible drug and nobody should ever take it in any circumstances. Okay, you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, which is kind of what she's doing right here. However, if you're slightly, I don't want to say more intelligent, if this concept pops up in your head, if you think about doing it, you can taper your dose and drop the dose by 100 or 200 milligrams a day. You won't experience the withdrawal effects when you decide to come off it, if you decide to come off it. It's kind of what she's doing here. Number 2, if you're going to fast, okay, this is just my own personal recommendation. I don't care if you're 5 million pounds or however much you weigh, you could be 600 pounds. My personal recommendation is you do a 48-hour fast and then you refeed on clean food. You can eat as much as you want. You eat 1 meal. Then you do a 72-hour fast and then you refeed on clean food and you can eat as much as you want. You repeat that process over and over until you hit your goal weight. Okay, to jump right into this and do a 54-day fast or even like a 7-day fast is not, it's too much. Like, we're human beings, we like to eat. And furthermore, anybody who's able to do an extended fast like that obviously is not exercising. So again, like I said earlier, if you're not exercising, how seriously can we actually take your advice? Because you're not really testing the limits of your body. You're just kind of depriving yourself to reach a goal. Okay, and then last thing before we continue the video, I made another video about this recently, about setting goals versus creating habits. The problem with fasting is that it's goal related. Okay, I want to fast for 7 days. I want to fast for 3 days. I want to fast until I lose 20 pounds. Your brain thinks that once you hit that event, once you hit that moment in time, your work is done. Okay, which was what leads to yo-yo fasting, which is why you'll hear Cole talk about fasting-focused lifestyle. He implies that it's a habit. However, the problem is that fasting in itself just kind of implies a certain length of time. For example, I'm going to fast for 3 days. I'm going to fast for 2 days, right? It's a singular event that doesn't imply like repeated action in terms of a habit. Okay, so you're kind of setting yourself up for failure in that regard, which is, I personally don't think that you even really need to fast that much once you're in shape. Maybe a day or two here and there if you want to cut before a pool party or something. But anyway, let's see what else she has to say.
That it effed up my life would be, it made my binge eating 100 times worse. It made my former binge eating look so minimal and like absolutely nothing. It made my urges to binge in all the previous years look like absolutely nothing. It made it worse. It made it so much worse, like off the charts worse. Not only were the binges worse, but the urges to binge were incredibly terrible. It's hard to describe. I feel like before I thought that I had a binge eating disorder, and it really wasn't that. It was probably more of just overeating. And then it turned into full-on disorder, binge eating disorder. Not a good time, not a good thing, not something that I anticipate to experience. I went into fasting thinking that it was going to cure it, that it was going to help me, and I was completely wrong. Number 3,
Okay, so let's touch on that for a second. Yes, when you do deprive yourself of food, you are going to naturally just kind of obsessively think about food, and you are going to want to eat a lot when you finally do eat. That does happen. She is telling the truth, obviously. However, what I think should be in place when you do decide to fast is that you need to plan ahead of time what you're going to eat. Okay, if you watch snake diet videos, you know that snake diet guy says that you should refeed on meat and vegetables, right? Now, and I think he says 500 grams or something like that. So that's good, right? But what I think is good about that is not the 500 grams part. It's the part where he says specifically what foods to eat. Okay, this girl doesn't seem like she had any plan as far as what she was going to refeed on. Okay, when I fast, right, and I'm just using myself as an example, when I fast, and I have good, what I would consider to be good values when it comes to eating anyway. Like, I feel guilty, yesterday I'm in Thailand, I ate some street food. I ate some cooked liver, and I felt guilty because it wasn't raw, right? To give you an idea of like how like OCD I am about this. But somebody who doesn't have those values, somebody, you know, a girl who like struggles with her weight, whatever, is fat, whatever you want to call it, when they think to eat, they are totally used to eating Ben and Jerry's and binging, and you know, they just allow themselves too much, right? They're not hard enough on themselves. Another thing I want to touch on here is that she's the whole way that she's speaking about this, right, is a very disassociated form of not taking responsibility. What I mean by that, I should have mentioned this earlier, but what she's saying is, fasting did this to me, okay? It's not me, it's the fasting that made me do it, right? In the beginning, she did say, yes, it was my choice to do this. Yes, I did decide to do this. And that was good in terms of taking responsibility. But where we see a little bit of a disconnect here is where now she's saying, okay, I chose to fast. And as a result, the fasting, this external entity over here, or activity that I participated in, did this thing to me that I had no control over. Okay, it's kind of a little bit of like shirking responsibility, which people who are overweight, they tend to do that anyway. Just my observation. So you'll notice that, I'm sure, as the rest of the video goes on. Let's see what else she has to say.
Amplified my anxiety around food and my social anxiety. I really didn't have anxiety before doing this whole fasting thing. No anxiety. Maybe a little bit when I had my business a few years ago, with just like the stress would maybe cause some anxiety, but nothing like I experience now. The amount of anxiety I had around food, it's still present. It was worse, but it's been better. Honestly, what's insane to think is that a lot of these issues have gone away since I have returned to my original weight after the fast. I feel like my mind was doing anything and everything that it could to get me back to the original weight. Whether it was amplifying the anxiety, amplifying the binge eating, the urges to binge, whatever it needed to get back to the original weight. And now that it's there, mentally it's easier. I hate to say. It also really played a toll on my social anxiety. So, you know, I put a target on my back and I put myself in a worse position by being very, very social about my fast, being public about my fast. And so I made social anxiety a very present thing in my life for a period of time. It's still there. It's not in the forefront of my mind, thankfully, but it is there and it is still present. Basically, it was in terms of, okay, I'm going to go see this person. You know, I'm bigger than the last time they saw me, and how are they going to interpret that or think about that? And is it going to be the first thing that crosses their mind as soon as they see me? So the social anxiety got a lot worse. You know, I would say that a lot of people have reached out to me saying that they've experienced depression after the fast. You know what? I didn't feel like that. I feel like I was more depressed when I was going to college. That's one of the reasons why I ended up dropping out. But I don't feel like that was a prevalent thing during this time after the fast. Next.
Okay, so again, this is a perfect example of somebody who's not hard enough on themselves, right? In the West, especially America, we tend to associate any sort of negative emotion or any sort of, let's call it a negative emotion. A negative emotion, we seem to think that that should be avoided at all costs. I mean, you know, if you're anxious about your weight and you have a weight problem, maybe it's good to be anxious about your weight. You know, if I'm anxious about being broke, maybe I should be anxious about being broke. You know, maybe it's a problem I should take care of. But like I said, this is a perfect example of somebody who's just not hard enough on themselves. And you'll see this if you take a look at, you know, I made that video about Amber Lynn Reed and Foodie Beauty. Again, two more people who are just not hard enough on themselves at all. They have such low standards and low expectations set for themselves that they do not put themselves in a position to rise to the occasion And you can call it sounding corny if you want, but really ascend into greatness, at least in terms of your health and let's just say physical beauty, right? This girl obviously not quite as far gone as those two girls. However, if she continues down this path, she looks to be about 20, 21 years old. I could be wrong. When she's 30, 40, I would not be surprised if she gets to be, over 200 pounds. Again, she's very nice. I kind of like her. Like, I would want to be her friend. But in terms of just like a strictly health standpoint, it's not looking good. Just because she's like kind of addicted to being easy on herself. Which, again, we all have areas in our life where we are easy on ourselves and we should be harder on ourselves. It's just that when it comes to your weight, this kind of thing is very obvious because it's very visual. You can see somebody's overweight and they're just obviously too easy on themselves. Number two, the social anxiety. And I think what she means is that she's worried what people would think of her when she would tell them that she's fasting, or after she fasted and she had regained some of the weight, what they would think of her during that time. I think this is, again, comes from, let's call it fear of success, right? Where she's kind of not ready to accept the mantle of greatness in terms of being a hot girl or being, a fit person or being that kind of role model that people would look up to in terms of fitness. Speaking from my own personal example or my own experience, I have kind of the opposite problem, right? I like to be the fit person. I like to be the fit guy, right? I like to be the one who people say like, oh yeah, like what kind of workouts do you do? Like what should I eat if I want to lose weight? Stuff like that. I like that. That's me though. So I've got the opposite problem. Maybe you have something in that spectrum somewhere. Okay. But again, in terms of social anxiety, if you're worried about what other people think of you and how often you decide to eat, you're never going to make it, bro. I don't know what to tell you.
It made it very difficult to connect again. It made it difficult to connect with people, engage in conversation. It made it difficult to connect with nature. It made it difficult for me to connect with the things that bring joy in my life. It was almost like, let's say I was in a moment. Here's a good example. I'd have this really amazing experience. And I'm always in the person that it could be something small, but if it's something new, it makes my heart feel full. It makes my soul feel full. It brings so much excitement and gratitude to me. It's like a full body experience. And things that should have done that to me weren't quite doing that. I was experiencing it less frequently than normal. So an example is I took an amazing sailing trip back in February. And although I felt so much gratitude, and there were a couple moments when I was in the water that I felt that full body gratitude, joy, happiness, appreciation. It just didn't happen as frequently and maybe as deeply as I would have expected. So I would say that I did have a moment recently when I went back to California to surprise my mom for Mother's Day, when I got to check a huge thing off my bucket list and go to the USA Women's National Soccer game at Levi's Stadium in a suite because of my amazing friend who hooked that up. That brought me a ton of joy. And it was I'm trying to get back to those childlike things. So for me, I knew that was going to bring me a ton of joy because, one, it was on my bucket list for 2 decades. And it was tapping into the things that made me really joyful as a child. And I feel like tapping into those things is something that I'm trying to be more aware of. And those are the things that I'm able to connect more with. So yeah, just finding that complete wholesome joy in my life has been incredibly challenging. And it's something that just makes me feel so full that I need it in my life, because I've experienced it a few times. I've experienced it in moments of, riding in a helicopter for the first time, overlooking Las Vegas at night. I've experienced it skydiving. I've experienced it walking the red carpet at the Grammys. I have experienced it when I won a car on The Price is Right. I've experienced it when I've been able to do things for other people, like take them on trips with me that I've won. Like I got to take my cousin to a Dallas Cowboys game that I won a trip to, and just like then seeing that with other people too. And so yeah, just I'm trying to like reconnect with the joy, things that brought me joy as a child, and I am finding more success really like feeling that joy. And lastly,
okay, so this is actually very interesting. When she started talking about this, I kind of had no idea where she was going with this. She's talking about essentially just being emotionally blunted about swimming in the river or something like that. I was like, what does this have to do with fasting? Okay, but as she continued to talk, I noticed a pattern in all of the examples that she was giving, in that they're all things that will trigger a dopamine release. Okay, so obviously when you're fasting, if you don't eat, like I don't eat for like a day, right? If I'm doing a 48-hour fast, and I'm in a very different headspace the next day for sure, which is kind of one of the reasons that I like it, but I like it in a short, controlled environment like that. Number one, because I do exercise quite a bit and I push myself very hard, and if I try to do that for more than like a day or two, it's going to be a bad time. I can only imagine what it'll be like after a week or 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. Now that said, if we take a look at all of her other examples of times where she connected and basically felt good, let's just call it. Number one was going to a soccer game, like an Olympic soccer game or whatever it was. At a sporting event, that's a very high emotion, very like lots of, screaming and cheering, and there's lots of other people there. It's a very high, I don't know what to call it, like high dopamine release activity. The other one was being on The Price is Right and winning a car, also massive trigger, dopamine release. What was the other one? Going skydiving, massive trigger for dopamine release. Going to a Cowboys game, right? Going on a trip that she won, right? These are all things that trigger a massive, massive spike in dopamine. So what she's saying is that while she was fasting, I don't know, maybe like her body didn't have enough energy to like trigger that dopamine release. But actually, now that I think about it, what was probably happening is that she wasn't getting the dopamine release from binge eating, which, as we can see from her roundish face, she obviously does that quite a bit. Okay, I wouldn't be surprised if she does it every day. So it makes sense, but if we look at it, like the way she's phrasing it makes it seem like it's this like spiritual thing that she's like missing out on, really appreciating life and all this stuff. But if we look at it from like a purely biological standpoint, what she's actually missing is that release in dopamine in her brain that she wasn't getting as a result of binge eating, and she wasn't getting from other things because her body was so depleted. Oh my God, I just spit everywhere. that she wasn't able to produce those chemicals to a as high of a degree as when she had food in her system.
it made me more self-centered, and I hate that. I feel like before I was a more thoughtful person. It made me think of other people more frequently and oftentimes first. It made me like, I really enjoyed serving people in a sense, and I feel like during my fast, I was extremely self-centered. It was more about like me. And then afterwards, and I don't know if it's like a survival thing that my body kind of went into, but it's like hard to be mindful of other people around and truly just like not be so damn self-centered. I don't want to be self-centered, but at times I feel like I'm self-centered, but I'm also aware that I might be like extra hard on myself when it comes to this topic. So I talked about not wanting to wake up in the morning.
Okay, so just really quick, we'll touch on that. What she is saying, I can relate to that as well. I noticed when I first started doing the warrior diet, when I first started skipping meals, I was, I think, 19, 20. I think I might have been living with my parents at the time. And I noticed that I was more curt with them and other people in my life as well when I started fasting. Or doing OMAD, or whatever you want to call it. So I definitely can relate to that, but I think ultimately what it comes down to is that when you don't eat, right, when your body, and again, this is an extreme example, we can't really take her experience as normal. It's for sure an outlier. Fasting for almost 2 months is like, that's like not a lot of people do that. Like probably, not a lot of people in the world do that. Okay, let's be real. But basically, yeah, when you fast, you kind of don't have patience for bullshit anymore. It's like you let everything you let the unimportant stuff kind of fall away because you haven't eaten. And, like it's all business, when you fast, and when you don't eat. So again, some people enjoy that mental sharpness and that mental edge, which is one of the reasons why I don't eat during the day, because I have stuff that I want to do. And if I eat, it kind of slows me down. Whereas if I don't eat, I'm maintain kind of a certain level of killer instinct, we could call it, throughout the day until I finally do decide to eat. And then when I do, kick off my shoes, watch a little anime, and eat my Kit Kat bars or whatever. Okay, so again, this is a good example, and she's very nice. I don't want to attack her character or anything like that, but this is a good example of somebody who just doesn't have the stomach, no pun intended, doesn't have the stomach for assuming a certain level of success, a certain level of greatness, as in regards to her personal health and physical beauty. Okay, she's just not ready for it. Maybe she will be in the future, but to kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater in terms of fasting. And again, I understand, maybe she would make another video about, wow, this is how fasting made my life way better, and list 7 reasons why that happened. Maybe she would do that. I don't know. So maybe cherry picking a little bit here, but to try some, that's like saying, okay, so this is like saying I worked out 7 hours a day for 6 weeks and I ruined my body afterwards, therefore working out is bad. I mean, come on. It's not like, you do something the wrong way, you can't say that it doesn't work because you did it the wrong way. Okay, let's see what else she says.
I talked about making binge eating worse. I talked about it amplifying my anxiety around food and social anxiety. I talked about it making it more difficult to connect with people and making me a more self-centered person. So if you want to see more videos in detail about the dark side of fasting, go ahead and leave a comment below. If this is your first time here and you're interested in fasting and you're interested in taking that step and experimenting with fasting or different forms of fasting, please subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, the bell for notifications. I always appreciate all the love and support. So as always, I hope that you have an absolutely amazing day and go out there and create a life that you love.
Okay, so let's sum it all up, right? I've said this before, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, saying something doesn't work because you did it incorrectly. And I understand, we're all trying to get views on our channel. We're all trying to grow and create clickbait and make videos that are provocative. I understand that. So how much of this is really about how she ruined her life and how much is kind of slightly exaggerated for the effect of, you got to make videos every day. You got to keep that shit interesting, right? Let's take it at face value though, and let's say that she actually feels this way and fasting is bad and she doesn't know what to do. What I would say is that from me watching this, not like anybody asked for my opinion, except that one person who did, what I would say is that much like the other fat YouTubers, Foodie Beauty and Amberlynn Reed, just not hard enough on yourself. You don't have high enough expectations for yourself and what you're actually capable of. And also start working out, right? You can't expect to only fast and look good and be healthy, right? Yes, it will get you a step in the right direction, but without, people say what's more important, fasting or working out? They're both, you kind of can't have one without the other. But if you were going to only have one, I would say working out for sure. I'll take somebody, even me personally, if I don't fast, I'm going to eat 3 meals a day, which I don't. I'm going to work out every day. I will be much healthier than if I just fast and don't work out. There's no contest. Okay, so number 1, exercise. Number 2, do OMAD. And number 3, I guess the main important one, like I said before, is just don't be so easy on yourself. Expect more from yourself, that you can, that you can have the body that you want and get your ass in the gym. Mariah, I don't know if you're gonna watch this video, but It's a shame if you give up. You know, get your ass in the gym, go join a gym, go there 4 or 5 times a week, eat 1 meal a day, stop fucking binge eating. Like, just don't buy the food. I don't know. Like, to me, it sounds easy. Like, just eat healthy food, you know, eat natural food. Anyway, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed my video. If you have any other recommendations for YouTubers or videos that you want me to take a look at, leave me a comment in the comment section. Subscribe to my channel. Peace.